production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. This is Talkin Cowboys. Live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco. Is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback,
This
Matt Harrison,
is
Rob
Talkin
Phillips,
Cowboys.
and Kyle
Streaming
Young.
live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the
48 days away from the start of the NFL season, and it's a Cowboys training camp edition of Talkin Cowboys presented by Geico here from Oxnard, California. It's the first show we've done from out here at Cowboys training camp presented by American Airlines. Rob Phillips, and, well, we were supposed to get the band of brothers, the gang back together. That has not happened, as Mickey Spagnola will join us at some point throughout the course of this podcast. But I'm Kyle Yeomans. It'll be me and Rob Phillips for a quick moment here. But this is one way that camp gets underway for Talkin Cowboys.
Well, you sent us a rundown for the show, and you mentioned how many camps he's been to, like 35?
Yeah, 35 camps.
Yeah, we figure out the Dallas, California time difference. Let's get that settled here the first week of camp, Mick. He'll be here. He'll be here.
I'm sure he will.
He may have a scoop or something.
Yeah.
He may come back with a big scoop.
Yeah, we can't make fun of him too much because maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's out there. He's talking with players. He's going to bring it back to us, and we're going to have plenty of information to relay back to the Cowboys fans back home. Or he was just on a sunrise bike ride. Who knows? Either way, throughout California. But Rob, what training camp is this for you?
15.
And all of them in Oxnard, or I guess not necessarily.
A handful in San Antonio.
Okay.
Including my first one in 2003, which happened to be Bill Parcells' first camp as Cowboys head coach. But the majority out here.
Yeah.
And it is so nice to be. It is cold out here today.
It is. It's a little chilly. We're both wearing sleeves at the moment. And of course, this being 9 a.m. Pacific Coast time compared to the 11 a.m. for the majority of our audience back in Texas. And, hey, look who made the trip.
Now I got to
Mickey
stand
Spagnola.
up.
Yeah, we're going to have to get back over here and kind of scoot in and get him here.
This is professional radio.
This is fantastic. 35 years of camp experience, everybody, and this is Mickey Spagnola back on Talkin Cowboys. Were you just that excited to get back on this podcast?
Oh, we're
us,
matching,
or?
Will. All right.
I almost wear that shirt today, too.
I was thinking that I needed to be back here by 9 o'clock, and I got back at 8:40, and I go, okay, I got 20 minutes. Went to breakfast.
Oh.
I forgot. Good thing you text me.
Yeah. I thought you were asleep. You didn't answer me.
We've been riding for an hour and a half.
It was a sunrise bike ride.
What was your route? Where'd you go?
We went down Vineyard to the Oxnard Airport, took a right, and went to the beach.
Nice.
Cool.
I showed Alex the way, and now I'm out of breath, too.
Ready to talk Cowboys?
I am.
All right.
Absolutely.
Now, I will ask this question. I was about to ask it to Rob a moment ago, but throughout all of your training camps that you've been a part of,
I've never been late for Talkin Cowboys.
That's a lie.
There's one.
God.
I was going to ask, has there ever been a training camp that you've been around that has been so excitable? Has there been so much excitement and so much anticipation around a training camp, much like this one? Maybe not necessarily because of the expectations. Sure, there are some expectations that are there, but mostly just getting back to normal and getting back to Oxnard, Mickey.
Maybe and I got to remember where we were, 2007, when T.O. showed up, or he was here, and Tony Romo was going to be the starting quarterback. So I can kind of remember that. Now, 89, there was a lot of excitement when Jimmy Johnson became the head coach. Troy Aikman was the first pick in the draft. So, yeah, there was some serious excitement then. And then they went out in 4 preseason games. They went 3-1 and won the last one at home in the last seconds over Houston. And Jimmy and Jerry running off the field with their arms in the air, and then things went downhill quickly because they went to New Orleans for the opener and got the snot knocked out of them 28-0. And then reality set in that maybe we're a ways away. I think they didn't even gain 200 yards, got shut out. And back in the day, the Cowboys, the one thing Tom Landry teams did is they scored points, right? And it was like their first shutout in 20 years or first time they were shut out in 20-some years. So, yeah. But I remember that training camp. It was pretty exciting. And actually, it was my first one to be at training camp the entire time. Before that, it was a week at a time. I was a backup guy, and so when they gave the beat writer time off, because back then training camp was like 5-6 weeks, so they let them either go home or bring somebody out. And so I would go for a week. I was the relief man. But, yeah, that was my first one.
The only one that compares for me is 2008, when Hard Knocks was here.
Oh, wow.
Ironically. And, there was just so much star power on that team and so much Super Bowl expectations. You had T.O. running on the beach in the Hard Knocks episode, and it felt like a Hollywood script, This is, like you said, excitable for a different reason. This just feels like a fresh start for this whole organization. Not just us getting to be back here, but, I think this is your first camp.
Yeah.
But for anybody that's been out here, Mickey and I, Chris, and obviously members of the organization, this is like a second home for the Dallas Cowboys. It really is. There's a comfort level coming out here. And when you run into people these first few days, it's not just players and coaches, but staff members, people we haven't seen that much for a year and a half. It's almost like a sense of relief for people to see each other a little bit and feel like we've got some semblance of normalcy right now. You feeling that?
It's like a homecoming.
It is.
I just ran into one of the guys that has been working here, I swear, since we've come. He was in the lunchroom, and I just saw him for the first time. I hadn't seen him before, and I said, "Oh, you're still here?" He goes, "Yeah, and it's good to have you back." And I had made friends. We used to stay over closer to like where you are, where the pool is. And every morning when I'd get up to go work out, this guy was out there cleaning the leaves out of the pool. And I don't remember his name, but we became friends. Like, hey, how you doing this morning, And every year he'd be out there cleaning the pool, right? I haven't seen him this year, but I've seen some of the volunteers that we're used to being around. They're back. And all these people that you haven't seen in 2 years, well, you forget their names. Yeah. But all these people are back. The security people, they're back. And they're all so happy to be here volunteering again. And that's a capital V, volunteering.
Well, and not just that, but staff within the Cowboys that we used to see all the time at the Star, and we don't as much anymore. And even when players are happy to see us, that's that there's a sense of relief because we make their jobs difficult, So I think that is what Jerry was trying to get across when he kind of got emotional a couple days ago at the press conference. There is a sense of normalcy right now, and let's enjoy it because this pandemic's not over, and hopefully it stays the way it is right now.
That's like I told you the other day when I showed up on time for the podcast. I passed Dak, and I heard him kind of shout out, right?
Yeah.
And I turned to my left to see who he was yelling at, and then he got up the steps and he yelled at me again and he goes, "Hey, good to see you." And I said, "Oh, he's talking to me."
Right.
And I realized, how long has it been since I've been that close to Dak Prescott to say hi? Well, we have to go back to December, end of the last season of the 2019 season.
Yeah, he may have seen us on a video conference call.
Yeah,
and that's it.
But not that close to him and actually talk or just say hi, and it was so different. And it's happened with a lot of people. Like, I had a long conversation the other day with Mike McCord, the head of the equipment. I hadn't talked to him in a year.
Sure.
And we're used to being around these guys, all the time.
And I think the return to normalcy really came to a peak yesterday whenever the first practice was out on the field, and then you kind of got out there and we were making our way to our spot, and the players were already out on the field, and guess what? fans started filing in.
Yeah.
And they were all lined up on the fence, and they were talking to everybody, and they were yelling at players. They were singing Ezekiel Elliott happy birthday. There were so many different animated things that hasn't been a part not only of training camp, but of football the last couple of years, just because of the COVID-19 protocols and stuff. But I do want to talk about the practice and kind of get into that a little bit. Yesterday, Mike McCarthy, during his press conference, said it was going to be simplified early on. He said it was going to be a reinstall of the offense. We're going to lay a foundation. We'll get to some of the simulated practice stuff pretty quickly. However, we want to make sure the foundation is set for some of these young guys and then also maybe some of the changes, especially on defense. But, Mickey, as you were watching practice yesterday, was there anything that stuck out to you overall?
I don't know so much about practice, but from his press conference, which, how many times have we seen him do that close, right?
Yeah.
We got to go back to Dak signing his contract and then the draft.
The draft, yeah.
But from the contract standpoint, we hadn't talked to him in person since January of 2020, right?
Yeah.
So here's what stuck out to me. The first, I don't know, what do you think, 10, 15 minutes of the press conference was about COVID-19. That's what stuck out to me, that there was a huge discussion on that. Not only did they have to talk about it when they did the camp opening press conference, but then Mike had to continue to sort of address it. And it's a hot topic. I mean, especially after what the NFL came down yesterday, right? With, if you're unvaccinated and you create a breakout, they're going to fine you. You're going to forfeit games, and there's no more rescheduling. And so, to me, that tells you the NFL can't come out and tell players you need to get vaccinated. But they can give ramifications if you don't. And the NFLPA has to sign off on that, and I'm assuming they did. So there's a lot of incentives for these guys to get vaccinated, and no more so than when Zeke was asked the question, and he kind of gave the politically correct answer. And then somebody said, yeah, but if you're unvaccinated and you cause a breakout, it's going to cost you a check. And all of a sudden his eyes light up and go, a check?
Game checks.
A check?
Zeke's check in particular,
right?
Which is pretty nice.
Yeah. And so that got his attention, and maybe it's got the other players' attention too. So I know you asked about the practice, but that's the thing.
It's the biggest topic of conversation.
Yeah, this first 2 days really, that's what stuck out.
That's why it's a semblance of normalcy.
Yeah.
It's not there yet because this is still an issue. It's still an issue league-wide. Now, the Cowboys feel good about where they are. They think Stephen Jones said he thinks they're going to hit that 85% that the league wants in terms of vaccinations, but they're not there yet, and so there are some protocols around here. As far as practice, it's still OTA mini camp feel.
Sure.
I mean, they're not in pads, and they won't be until next week. That's just part of the league protocols, I think, or league rules. You got to be day 7, I think, to get back in pads. But it kind of reminded me of early practices that we've seen in camps before, where the defense may be a little bit ahead in terms of making plays on the ball and the offense not quite as crisp. And look, honestly, there's a lot of new faces on the offense, at least with the first team, that not new signings, but just guys coming back from injury. And I think it'll kind of sort itself out as we go here. But, we got to tap the brakes a little bit on evaluations early because we're not seeing anything really different in terms of padded work and that type of stuff. But Mike McCarthy did speak to it. There's going to be some more competitive stuff early because they feel good about the installations they did in the spring to where now they can just kind of review it and then get after it with some situational work and some competitive stuff, which is fun.
And and then, one of the things they were still offensively for a lot of the team drills and even the 7-on-7, they were still doing their scramble thing where they weren't running a play that was called. It was like, okay, here's the formation, and then Dak starts spinning around and, trying to scramble and throw on the run. So there was a lot of that going on still, and he showing that, I'm fine. I can run, I can plant, I can stop and start, I can throw deep. And I heard somebody go, yeah, typical Dak Prescott. He wasn't very good. And it's like, okay, seriously? This is the first time they did team since he had his foot going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he did none of that in the spring.
And I mean, it was all 7-on-7 or against air, or even when they had 11, it was 11-on-7, and there was no line, no rush. There was no congestion around him. So, yeah, it's like, give me a break. And the other thing is, when you're in practices like this, you're going to throw the ball. You're not going to take a sack, or you're not going to just throw it away, right? You're going to try to drill one in, and it might get intercepted, but big deal.
It's the way you do it.
You're trying to find out where your margin of error is, and it's like the comeback one that Diggs picked off right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, in the game, he's not throwing that pass, and he just tried to drill it in there.
He has said that for 5 years, that in training camp, I'm going to take chances. I'm going to test my limits. I'm also going to show my guys I'm willing to throw it up to you and try to let you make a play on the ball. But in games, he's going to be more cautious in terms of not making mistakes. So that's a good point by Mick.
I remember one training camp, and somebody was like, and I don't remember who it was or what affiliation it was, but they were new to training camp. And so the offense was practicing against the scout team. Or no, the defense was practicing against the offensive scout team. Okay? And the next day, the next morning, it was, who's hot and who's not. Well, who's not was the scout team quarterback, because he got picked off 5 times.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, you're supposed to throw the ball so the defense could succeed, right? Sure. And it's like, oh, come on, let's not go through this. So yeah, but even those guys, they're gonna gun it in there and see what they can do. So it's really hard to judge, especially the first practice, right? And the defense should be playing well, and who caught your eye again, because he's caught everybody's eye and perked their
Mr.
ears
Deshaun
up.
Wright.
Yeah, again, he's always making a play on the ball. It seems like 1 or 2 every practice.
He had 3 in the span of 6 plays yesterday. I charted down.
He's he's turning some heads. And
he can close so quickly because of his length.
Yes.
He can get up on, even if he's beat on a play, he's got the arm length to close and make a play on the ball, and he did it 2 straight plays earlier in practice.
Man, if I had arms like that, I'd have been great in tennis.
Unfortunately,
I cover the net.
Wimbledon.
Oh gosh, Mickey's going to win Wimbledon
with long arms.
The one thing you're looking at in these practices isn't, like you said, it isn't the stats, it isn't the charts, it isn't incompletions, completions, and whatnot, whatever it may be. You're looking for footwork, you're looking for positions, you're looking for speed at the same time. And I think Deshaun Wright, that was what was intriguing about yesterday. Not only was he getting a hand on the football on multiple occasions, but his footwork was good, his closing speed was there, and then the change of direction was honestly there too, that I thought was pretty impressive overall. Before we do take our first break, wanted to give a quick update for those who did not see it on
We're breaking already?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
I missed
Unfortunately.
5 minutes or so.
The quick update on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. Amari Cooper, Demarcus Lawrence, Tristan Hill, Mitch Hyatt, Greg Zuerlein, a couple of those names on there. TJ Vasher, not on the PUP list. He's on a different list at the moment.
Tristan Hill.
Tristan Hill on there. Anybody that sticks out there that has any concern for you guys going into camp?
I don't know if it's concern. I think the surprise was, I don't think we knew Greg Zuerlein had back surgery.
Had any issue?
Yeah. But, he wasn't there for the OTAs, and he wasn't there for minicamp. And I remember asking somebody about, are the kickers like working inside when we're outside?
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, I think that's what they're doing. And it's like, well, because I haven't seen Zuerlein, and somebody goes, well, he's a veteran, he doesn't need to be out here. And it's like, oh, okay. He wasn't perfect. So then, you hate to hear your kicker had back surgery, but if he had it like after the season in January, and I'm assuming the worst, right? I don't know that it was a disc, but I'm assuming when it's a back, it usually is. That's a 3-month recovery. So they're probably out of an abundance of caution with him, and all the rest of the guys the same thing.
With Zuerlein, I don't think it's anything long term. And Mike said that about all the guys that are coming off these lists. Now, Demarcus Lawrence has a back too. Did the back surgery in the spring apparently. Cleanup procedure. I don't know what a cleanup procedure means necessarily with the back, and it's his third procedure, I believe, of his career. But they say they're not concerned about it. So we'll see. He's in great hands with the athletic training staff, but the sooner he could get back out there, obviously, the better for this defense.
I'm assuming he had it before we saw him doing his rehab stuff at the OTAs and minicamp.
He's out there
and if
moving.
That's the case, he was running pretty good during that. Yeah. That's why I didn't think he had any leg issue or anything. But, it's a 3-month recovery. And, I can take you back to the summer of '93 when Troy Aikman had his disc surgery, microdiscectomy, and he had it middle of June, and by the second or third preseason game, he's diving headfirst into the end zone for a touchdown. And it's like, seriously?
Can't be doing that.
And they told him, you don't need to run. And he did that. Jimmy, you're out. That's it. Sit out. Take his helmet away.
That's a good way to put it. And I think Mike McCarthy said it in his press conference, but Tristan Hill probably the furthest from being ready is one of the things that he said.
You know what? I had a little bit of perspective on that, that if they needed him to be out there, he would be out there. But they're kind of slow playing it because there might be somewhat of a logjam at that defensive tackle position.
I agree completely.
Right? And especially if Bohanna proves that he can do something, right? And so I don't know. It may have something to do with, let's watch his back, but we put him on PUP, and if we do get a logjam there, then you can leave him on PUP, right? And you would buy, what, is it 8 more weeks?
At least.
6?
Yeah, 6 minimum.
6 minimum, right?
Yeah.
And then you
if something happens in the defensive line ahead of him,
I've got him in my back pocket, right?
You don't have to take up a roster spot in order to do so.
So I think there might be some of that talk in there.
The other thing too is he's 300 pounds, and what we've heard about coming off ACLs, if you're heavier player, it can take a little bit longer than maybe a Blake Jarwin who's at 245, 250. So I think that's part of it too. They just want to get him in the right place. And again, the numbers, Mike referenced it at the press conference. D tackle is one they've got to figure out who's going to make this team, who's going to play. Yeah. Because, they needed to upgrade that position in the interior big time, and they've got some numbers they like.
Yeah, keep that thought. You got to hit it.
I was going to hit the break real quick, and then we'll hit some.
Let's come back to that defensive tackle spot.
Okay, we can do that. We're going to actually, we'll push fans to on the 50 on the final segment. We'll come back and talk some defensive tackle when we return here on Talkin Cowboys, presented by Geico.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes. which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Whether you're watching from home or you're cheering in the stands with Essilor lenses, you can see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and see what Essilor can do for you. See more, do more, Essilor on Talkin' Cowboys. No Isaiah this week to do our little Essilor lenses. I'm wearing mine at the moment. Rob's got an appointment to get his when we get back.
What about me?
I know you're back on Talkin' Cowboys, so we need to get you some Essilor.
You want
lenses.
some Essilors?
I mean, some Essilors.
We make it happen.
We'll be able to make that work. But we've got Mickey Spagnola, Rob Phillips, and Isaiah Stanback and Heckma Harrison, a part of the coverage back at the Star. They'll join us, of course, again whenever we return back to Frisco. But Talkin' Cowboys back for the 2021 season. And before we headed to break, Mickey, you wanted to talk a little bit more about defensive tackle.
Yeah, we were talking about defensive tackle. Rob brought it up that McCarthy said there's going to be some competition there. Well, yeah, because coming to training camp, I'm sitting there going, well, I don't know who the starters are. Well, the first 2 guys to go out, I believe it was Neville Gallimore and Carlos Watkins.
Yep.
Watson. I keep wanting to call him Watson. And
he
so
played with Deshaun Watson in college.
Yeah,
and on the Texans too.
There you go.
And that was kind of okay. That's what they're thinking, I guess. Now it's a matter of okay. Let's see what Brent Urban can do. Let's see what Osa Odigizua can do. And then you got Bohanna in there, right? So that's going to be some serious competition. And I think that, to me, that position there kind of highlights everything on defense, because I think there's going to be a lot of competition for all but maybe 2 or 3 starting spots. To me, Lawrence is a starter, Gregory's a starter, Diggs is a starter. Okay, now the other corner, they got Anthony Brown there, but he's going to have to play well to keep that spot. And then the safeties, I think it's open. I don't think anything's grandfathered into anybody. And same at linebacker. Now they're going out there, when they're just 2 linebackers with Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith. But how about this? I think I saw an lineman out there with 3 linebackers at the same time.
There were a bunch of different snaps with that.
Right? And I saw
they rotated
Micah
them around.
Parsons playing all 3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He was at least playing the strong side because he was out there covering in man on the tight end.
The majority of Parsons' snaps came off the edge. He did play some at the Mike. He did play some at the Will. I think he played more at the Will than he did at the Mike.
Well,
and
he
there
was playing.
Jalen Smith playing
when
in
you
all
saw
3
him on
too.
the edge, though, there was 3 linebackers.
Exactly.
And he was either covering or they blitzed him from the strong side. So his versatility, I think, creates huge competition at that linebacker spot. And let's not forget Jabril Cox either, by the way. So between those 4 guys, and then Keon O'Neal, 5.
Who had a forced fumble yesterday.
Right.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
On Michael Gallup.
Yep. So,
but Mick, I think his versatility is a good thing in terms of maybe opening up snaps for everybody. Because you can. He's a Swiss Army knife that you can move around different spots. You guys are right. He plays everywhere. I was watching the one-on-ones. It wasn't one-on-ones. It was pass rush drills before they got in teamwork with the offensive lineman, defensive lineman. He's on the edge rushing. He has this sick inside move.
It's great.
On, I forget which tackle it was, for a would-be sack. And then you watch him in team drills, and he's dropping, covering tight ends and running backs. He can do a lot of different things. They're putting a lot on his plate, but he can do a lot of different things.
You wouldn't be surprised if he was out there on special teams, would you?
I would not.
In coverage?
No.
Nothing would surprise me. I think
my job for him, I want him to be the personal protector on the punt team. Because I want to see him snap him the ball, and I want to see him run with the ball.
One thing you said that I might disagree with you on the number of starters that I think are kind of set, in my mind anyway, on defense. I think Neville Gallimore is a starter this year at defensive tackle.
I don't know if that's a lock, though.
I don't know if it's a lock, but I think
that's what Mick is saying.
He's good enough to earn it.
Yeah.
But he's going to have to earn it.
He's got to earn it, but I think they view him as a maybe a cornerstone, hopefully, going forward on defense.
I can see that.
If he can keep up what he did last year. To me, I think Leighton Vander Esch, health willing, is going to be a starter at linebacker. I think he is I think the scheme change and going back to probably the will help him, just kind of what he's used to doing. And it's going to be, but it's going to be interesting with the linebacker spots, how they figure that out, how Jalen Smith fits in, how he's going to play a lot, but how Micah Parsons fits in. And Neal's going to play too. He's there. He's at linebacker for a reason for Dan Quinn.
What about Donovan Wilson? Why is he not being said as a lock? I think he's about as good of a lock as a starter could be at the safety spot.
I think we have to see it. Now, coming into training camp, remember, he didn't do anything those last few weeks in the off-season workouts.
Did not participate in OTAs, wasn't really a big part of the –
He wasn't in mini camp, and so that was the first time we saw him on the field.
I thought he looked good.
And he did. But I think he's still got to earn it because I don't think that, is KZ going to be the free? We got to see that.
Probably. He played a lot of the free yesterday.
J-Ron Curse, who I didn't realize was that tall,
he's
right?
A big dude.
I'm sure he's not rolling over, especially after he earned some starting games at Minnesota. So I think there's a lot of competition there. I just think that nobody better have 2 bad days in a row because they may lose their rotation spot. So, I think the competition is great, and we can go back to where we started at defensive tackle. Let's go. I want to see it.
What was the biggest problem last year on
stopping
defense?
the run?
In that area, too.
Yes.
On the interior, allowing linebackers, not giving linebackers enough space to go make plays. They're just second level, just on them right away. That happened way too often in the run game last year.
Is that why you think Neville Gallimore is going to be a cornerstone of the defense, is because of the run defense and what he could do potentially sideline to sideline as compared to what they had in the past with maybe an Antoine Woods and a Tyrone Crawford?
Stopping the run, but I think he just, one thing when I talk to players at minicamp about, Dan Quinn's style, they said it's up the field, and it kind of reminds you of what people said about Rod Marinelli's scheme. We're going to get up the field, we're going to be disruptive, and it's not just a matter of just holding blocks and holding up linemen. And I think Neville Gallimore has a chance to be an explosive up-the-field rusher to help this defense out. I think he can really develop into that. We'll see, but he showed flashes of it last year.
He did it a little bit last year. He did it a lot during his time in Norman. He did it a lot for Oklahoma, and I think that was where some of the intrigue came with him, where they got him in the 3rd round last year.
Yeah, and I think though his biggest problem at Oklahoma was the fact that they were playing a 3-4.
Sure.
And he's not a 3-4 defensive end, and that's what they had.
No, he fits this scheme better.
He fits this scheme better. Play the 3 technique in a 4-man line where he's not getting double teamed the whole time, right? And if he is getting double teamed, then good luck who's ever blocking Randy Gregory, right?
Yep. Or Demarcus Lawrence or Osa Odighizuwa or whoever ends up being that other starter at defensive tackle. Now, you mentioned Dan Quinn and some of the changes that he's made. Have you guys, of course, you've been around a lot longer than I have, and you've seen the Rod Marinelli days. You've seen other defensive coordinators other than Mike Nolan. But there feels like an energy. There feels like a tempo from this defense, even in practices that resemble OTAs and minicamp sort of deals. It still felt like there was an energy there yesterday. Am I wrong in saying that?
No. And the other word I use for the impression I got of what he's done with this defense is organized. They look organized.
Yes.
Everybody seems to understand what they're doing. I think yesterday, and look, I'm not charting every play. I think I saw, I might have been standing next to you. I saw one busted coverage, okay? Last year, that was their biggest problem defensively to me. You know, it's one thing to get beat physically, but to bust coverages the way they did is inexcusable. And I think I only saw one. I
remember it. Yes.
Remember Kelvin Joseph looked like everybody was in man, and he was playing zone.
There was something wrong on the right side of the
his
field.
guy ran wide open.
Yeah.
Ride A open. Jerry was here, right? But they seem organized, and I see him talking and calling out like, "Hey, line up here, line up there," and that wasn't happening last year. So good on him, whatever they've done in the offseason. And I know they didn't have an offseason last year, right? And they tried to install too much defensively, way too much, without any offseason work.
Over the computer.
Yeah.
And then that 3 weeks of camp.
And Zooming.
and no preseason
And
games.
no preseason,
yeah.
right?
I mean, every team dealt with that, though. Let's point that out.
Yeah, but they all didn't have new defensive coordinators and new defensive line coach and new linebacker coach, new secondary coaches.
I think the only one you can argue had a successful year under those circumstances was probably Cleveland. Right?
Yeah,
maybe
and they
Washington a little bit, but
and I don't know
struggled.
that their entire staff changed. You know, you never know what happened. We see head coaches change, but when the head coaches change, usually the whole staff is changing, and the majority of the defensive staff changed. Right?
But those two teams that you just mentioned, the personnel was better last year than it was here.
Are you saying
Washington's
base, or are you saying with the injuries that the Cowboys dealt with?
Well, I'm both, but I'm talking defensively. I think, if Dan Quinn's going to have a lot of success here, he's got to have playmakers. And I think they're taking steps to do that. And when they're at full strength, they do have some playmakers on this defense. But, yeah, Mickey's right. To me, and I've said this on our show all offseason, it's about the communication and getting guys to trust the scheme. And when you trust the scheme, you play fast. That's what Joe Thomas, who's not here anymore, he's in Houston, but he said that midseason last year, and it really stuck with me. That was the biggest problem. Guys started to kind of settle in by November, December, and it was too late, at that point. But I think Dan Quinn's communication, his former players talk about it. DeMonte Kazee had a great story yesterday about did you hear that story, Mick? When he first started in Atlanta playing for Dan Quinn, he had been a corner his whole life.
Yes.
So they move him to safety, where you've got to be the quarterback of the defense. You've got to talk. You've got to communicate. You've got to get people lined up. He was hesitant to do that because usually at the corner, hey, you line up against your guy and you play your man. You play your island. Revis Island, right? But Rob P. Island.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
That's the best island.
Shout out to Heck and Isaiah. But to get him to communicate more, Dan Quinn mic'd him up, Hard Knock style, every practice, and they would go into his office after practice and listen to what he said and how he communicated in practice, and it helped him communicate better as a safety. I mean, that's coaching. That's teaching.
Hands-on approach.
That's impressive.
I want to know where Dan Quinn was when I started college to teach me how to take notes.
Tell that story.
Right? He spends 10 minutes of their team meeting defensively explaining to them how to take notes. Like, you can't write down everything I say because you can't keep up. So you got to learn to pick out the important things and write them down. And I guarantee you, my first class in college was a 500-person lecture on American history. Mm-hmm. And I didn't take notes in high school. You didn't take notes in high school, did you?
Chicago Heights,
right?
Shout out.
We didn't take notes in high school. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there trying to write all this stuff down, and then it took me a year in classes like that to realize, okay, you got to read the stuff, remember the highlights of what he told you, and then go back and look at it again, and then. When I got into this business, and no one was using tape recorders back then. We had teletype too, by the way.
I don't know what that is.
You learn to listen to what the person was saying and kind of write down, and you learned your own little shorthand on words. Like if somebody said something about through, well, through means THRU. You don't need the OUGH, but you learned how to take notes, and that's what he was trying to explain to these guys. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Just watching him, and again, we'll see how this.
And you know what?
Functions.
One other thing, he used to be a teacher. I think he started off in high school.
Well, maybe that's where it comes from.
And he was a teacher. But that's what these guys are, right?
Sure.
I don't care.
Coaches or teachers.
If you're coaching, you're teaching, right? And I think he started off in high school, I think I read, and he actually had classes, not just PE.
That's interesting. Well, we'll see how we will see how it all comes together on the field. It's got to come together on the field. But you watch Dan Quinn on the field in between series, before drills. He's right in the middle of it talking to guys. And I'll just say, look, Mike Nolan has had a great career coaching, but he was more detached.
He was on the other side of the field, had
with
a
a
walkie-talkie.
And he wasn't as hands-on as Dan Quinn. I think given the situation they were in last year with the restrictions and the lack of time on the field, they probably needed a more hands-on defensive coordinator with the new scheme. That's what Dan Quinn does.
But what I think Mike's mistake was, he made his bones in the NFL before he became a coordinator and a head coach as a linebacker coach.
Sure.
So I thought he would spend all his time with the linebackers.
That was not the case.
And he didn't.
No.
He had, is it Scott McCurley?
Mm-hmm.
Scott right?
McCurley and George Edwards.
And George Edwards.
He delegated.
But Mike did the kind of walk-around thing.
Yeah.
Well, Dan Quinn ain't walking around.
No,
he's with
everywhere.
the defensive line, right? He's the defensive line coach, basically. And that's kind of how Marinelli did it, right?
Yes.
Marinelli was the coordinator, but he was the defensive line coach. And so I think I like Quinn's approach. I like the fact that George Edwards looks like he's taken over the linebacker spot. They bring in Joe Witt Jr. to help with the secondary. And that's a lot of experience, right? Because last year, I'm going to forget the guy's name. He ended up getting the head coaching job at Buffalo. The guy, the new
Maurice Linguist.
Yeah, and that was the first time he had coached in the NFL too. So you had a lot of inexperience helping out McCarthy. And hey, look, when you get named the head coach, you don't have carte blanche treatment to hire whoever you want. They got to be available.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think, it takes time. And Jason Garrett can tell you this. He inherited a staff basically when he became head coach. But it takes time to get the guys you really want on your staff.
Because they got to be available. You got to be able to bring them in, and they've got to be interested in what you're selling them. That's a great point, and I think it is refreshing as to what we've seen with Dan Quinn over the first couple days of Cowboys training camp. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up. We're going to answer a couple very quick fan questions with Fans on the 50 when we return here on Talkin Cowboys.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Don't miss your chance to see the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium this season. A limited number of single-game, standing-room-only tickets are on sale. Now get yours today at DallasCowboys.com/tickets. A chance to see the Cowboys that are out here in Oxnard. And, of course, every practice at Oxnard open to the public and free admission. So there were tons of fans out there. It was really energetic. It was a lot of fun, and I'm sure tomorrow's going to be nuts because it's a Saturday. People are off, and they're going to be able to make trips, and it's going to be
opening
packed.
ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's another big thing.
Saturday.
I think it's tomorrow.
Usually it is.
Saturday.
Yeah, I think it is tomorrow.
We'll double check.
So that'll bring in more people.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people tomorrow.
Because this is, I'm not going to say that. I don't have the schedule. Because usually they don't get that many practices always on the weekend, but I think it might have got planned out a little bit better this year.
Yeah, it definitely did.
There's more
to have Saturday, Sunday
yeah,
practices.
There's more days off this year in camp just because of the league rules, and so they got to maximize the practices. I think it's 12 or 13 practices out here. That's it.
Yeah.
So
but camp doesn't end when they
no,
leave.
You're right. That Jason Garrett taught us that.
Because you got another 2 weeks back home,
yes,
right?
You do.
Or
yes,
3 weeks
do.
before you actually open the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be plenty more of camp to come whenever we do break camp here in Oxnard. But it was funny. I was writing this rundown last night, which, by the way, we have not hit on anything in the rundown, but that's fun.
Save it for Sunday.
It's okay. Yeah, I could use it for Sunday.
Thanks to me, I'm sure.
It's okay, Mickey. We like having you back. So I wrote fans on the 50, and I was like, there's no way we're going to hit it at 50. We're going to hit this at 20. It's fine, whatever. But I don't want to call it Twitter on the 20 because that's, of course, what the draft show does. But we're actually starting this on the 50. I've got a question from Stingray. Any concerns over the loss of leadership following the retirements of Sean Lee and Tyrone Crawford? Rob, we'll start with you.
Yes, to some extent, yes. Anytime you lose both guys, I think Tyrone Crawford's leadership, people don't really know as much about what he brought to the locker room, and kind of a mentor for Demarcus Lawrence early in his career, as much as Sean Lee, because we hear about Sean Lee's leadership throughout his career. Yeah, I do think there's a void there. But I think it can be filled. I think there's guys that with their work ethic, Leighton Vander Esch comes to mind, and there's young guys coming up. I think Demarcus Lawrence has that too in terms of just kind of his spirit on the field. There's guys that can fill that void. Mike McCarthy talked about that, Mick, at the press conference, that you don't have to be a veteran too. You can be a rookie. I think Micah Parsons' approach to the game can rub off on people, even in his first year at 22 years old. So I think there's guys who can step in.
Leighton Vander Esch was on his way to doing that last year, and then things got derailed. First, there was no off season, and so when he got to training camp, he was much more vocal. I thought he was much more opinionated in his press conferences, right? And so and they put him in the middle. So great, you're the middle linebacker. You're going to be more vocal, right? And was it 1 quarter into the season and he breaks his collarbone?
Yeah.
So now you're out 4 weeks, and by time you get your sea legs back underneath you when you come back, it's basically you were out 6 weeks. And so it kind of derailed him taking charge. When you're out, even for Sean Lee when he was out, it was hard for him to speak up a lot. And then he gets hurt at the end of the year. So I think you're right on Vander Esch. I like the sound of a couple of the guys they've brought in.
That played for Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with DeMonte KZ yesterday. He looks like, he reminded me of, kind of looks like him too, Aaron Glenn, when Aaron Glenn was here. And Aaron Glenn was a veteran guy that was a really good leader in that secondary. And I think Keanu O'Neal probably could fill in that void also. So it's
Just
good
pros.
to have some veteran guys in there to help out with missing those two guys. It's hard to replace Sean Lee. John Lee,
they're irreplaceable.
Basically was the linebacker coach last year.
Yeah.
And so you miss him. I like the fact that George Edwards is running the linebackers because That's his deal. That's how he made his bones in the NFL,
Going back
coaching linebackers, and that's how he became a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, playing linebacker here.
I've got 2 more questions. These are going to be rapid fire. I'm going to start with Big J's question. He said, if you had to pick one player on defense to make the Pro Bowl this year, who would it be and why? Mickey.
Micah Parsons.
Ooh, that's a bold statement. I'm okay with that. Rob?
Aside from Demarcus Lawrence, who I think he's done it, he's a star when he's healthy. I think Leighton Vander Esch can have a big year this year. Wow. I think he says he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder with the contract and all that, but
he definitely does.
He's got a chip on his shoulder all the time. It kind of reminds me of Sean Lee.
Do we forget his rookie year? He was a Pro Bowler.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And in the first Pro Bowl rookie linebacker for like forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, good pick.
But it's not, he's had some bad luck. I agree with him. You break your collarbone, you step on somebody's foot, and you twist your ankle. I don't think it's all he's just injury prone. But he's got to be able to stay on the field to get comfortable. I think when he was on the field last year, he didn't seem as comfortable with his role.
Well, he changed role.
Yeah, and I think the production showed it. I think if he can just stay on the field, I think Dan Quinn's going to put him in good spots to be successful.
You got a guy?
Yeah, I was going to say Trayvon Diggs.
Okay.
Kind of change it up a little bit. I agree. Demarcus Lawrence is there. I love the pick on Leighton Vander Esch because I do think he will have a bounce-back year. But I'm going to say Trayvon.
And I'll tell you one guy don't go to sleep on, Randy Gregory.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
He just looks spectacular out. I know the pads haven't come on.
You got to watch that. But
just watch his pass rush.
His bend.
He does.
He's got the
I'll
bend.
guarantee you, if they're in some pass rush drills and they're in a line, and he's up first and Ty Nsekhe's next, he'll go. Yeah, my knee a little bit. I'll get the next one.
I'm going to get over here, 36 years old.
The helmet.
About to be 37.
I'm going to get the next one.
Yeah. Final question. I do like that, though. Man, the thought of Randy Gregory and Demarcus Lawrence is exciting. Hard to tell early, and this is from Chris, by the way, not Chris Beam, even though he's doing great work.
Chris would like to ask questions.
He could ask questions if he wanted to. Hard to tell early, but with so much emphasis on length and speed in the offseason, was there a noticeable difference there whenever we watched practice yesterday?
I think it's too
early to tell
on that, except for the long arms of Nashawn Wright.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, length kind of helps him.
Yeah.
He's got some speed to him, too.
But I don't know who else they added that has length like that.
Osa.
Well, in the interior
Chauncey
D-line.
Golson's on the pup list,
and Chauncey's out, so.
Brent Urban does. Pretty much everybody they signed.
Man, Brent Urban is a large human being.
He is huge.
6'7", 300 pounds. He is a large human being.
But that doesn't show up until the pads come on.
Yeah, right.
We got to wait on that, I think.
And then just the size of Bohanna.
Yeah, he's pretty big too.
And he moves. He doesn't move like a guy that's 6'4", 330. So I'm be interested to see that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that's Nate Newton's pet cat.
Okay.
He wants to see more of Bohanna. As a matter of fact, he wants him to force the coaches force him in there to give him snaps. Because he thinks that big body would create havoc in the middle.
One other name, not length but speed. Kelvin Joseph is a guy we didn't really see much in the offseason, and he made a play on the ball against, I think it was Noah Brown.
It was Noah Brown.
And I just think it's just a gut feeling that I don't know if he's going to be a starter week 1, but I do think his talent is going to show up out here. And I do think he's going to play. And maybe he is a walk-in starter, but even if he's not, I think we kind of forgot about him because he wasn't on the field that much, and we saw Nashawn Wright make all these plays. There's a reason he was drafted in the second round, and speed and ball skills are the big reason why.
He may be one of those guys that maybe week 5, and all of a sudden he shows up,
yes.
Right? And he may, to give him some opportunities to earn his spot. It kind of reminds me when Kevin Smith came in as a first-round pick, a cornerback, and it was 91, 92, and Ike Holt was the starter. And Pup didn't start until about 8-10 games into the season. But once he got out there, look out. He's taking on Jerry. He's baiting Jerry Rice. It's like youngin'. mind yourself, right?
Yeah.
But he wouldn't back off, but sometimes from a cornerback standpoint, it takes a while to make that. Poor Trayvon Diggs, day one starter, you're out there, buddy. We got injuries.
It's tough.
We got no choice, right?
It's tough.
And we saw the growing pains. And I'll be interested to see after those growing pains how much better he is after an off-season workout.
And he made some plays against Michael Gallup yesterday. Again, it's not pads and all that stuff. But remember, the top 4 corners all missed at least one game last year. So they need Kelvin Joseph to be ready. They need N'Shawn Wright to be ready. Yeah. It's possible both guys get starts this year, depending on how injuries work out. So, and you've got to have at least really 4 corners that you feel good about in this league today.
Awuzie missed half the season.
Yeah.
Yep. Diggs
missed like 4, I think, games.
Brown
Anthony Brown missed
6 games or something like
that.
that.
Jordan Lewis missed the opener.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So having all those guys back and at least depth, I think that's what I'm most excited about is the fact that there is some depth, not only in the cornerback room but also defensive line. We just named 7 different defensive tackles and defensive ends that could make an impact this year.
And they probably all can't make the team, right?
No. Right. There's going to be some odd men out.
And I can't remember if I mentioned this in the press conference. Jerry mentioned that their top 10 or maybe it's Steven, 10 or 11 players paid. They got to get production from them. And last year we had a lot of injuries. So I went back and looked. Out of the top salaries right now, the top 11, if I look back to last year, 8 of those guys missed 75 games. 8 of them. 75 games from your top paid players.
That's bad.
And we can start with Dak,
that's
right?
really bad.
You got no games out of La'el Collins. You got 2 games out of Tyron Smith. You got 1 game out of Blake Jarwin, who I think was the 11th. He was the 11th highest paid player. Yeah, he didn't even finish
if you
it,
could
right?
even count it.
You lost games from Van Der Esch. You lost 6 games from Zach Martin. Dak's games, you 11.
Missed a game from Zeke.
Zeke had 1 game he missed. So, and if you take Zeke out, then it's 7 guys missing 74 games.
My gosh.
It's an easy road to 6-10 that way.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money you spent for IR.
Can't make a ton of excuses, but that's one that it's blatant. I mean, that is a fact. That's not an excuse. That's a fact. Whenever you have your top 11 players missing that much time, it's going to affect you. But that's going to do it for us here on Talkin' Cowboys. Plenty more to come. Mick, glad to have you back.
When are we doing this again?
Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to mark it down?
Same time and place?
9 a.m. right here on
set
Sunday.
Set your alarm on your phone right now.
Let's just, and we start at 9, just so we'll all get that underway. It's 11 o'clock Central Time back in Texas. We'll be back on Sunday. But until then, for Rob Phillips, Mickey Spagnola, I'm Kyle Yeomans. That's it for Talkin' Cowboys, presented by Geico.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?